Hey everyone, Kyle Walker here. If you love cars, fixing things, or just want to understand your vehicle better, you're in the right place. I share hands-on tips, smart driving advice, and straight-up car talk without the fluff. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and stick around till the end. You don't want to miss what's coming up. Let's get into
Mechanical
it.
units of a modern car are saturated with all sorts of nodes that provide a comfortable and safe ride. From old to new models of cars, most parts are modernized and improved. Progressive materials and manufacturing technologies are used. One of the important elements in the suspension, to which designers and engineers pay considerable attention when designing a car, is the ball bearing. The safety of the driver with passengers and surrounding road users depends on the quality of its manufacture, design features, and possible malfunctions. Why do you need a ball bearing? Usually, what is a ball bearing in the car? Novice motorists learn from more experienced colleagues when indirect signs of suspension failure are manifested. There may be extraneous noises in the wheel area, or there are other factors. In a car, such an element as a ball bearing is located not only closer to the wheel. Similar connections can be found in different parts of the passenger car, in the steering trapezoid, on the camber arms, in the area of the hood gas stops, etc. In fact, in terms of meaning, the more correct name of the unit is ball joint. When the node is so called, then its essence is clear. Important. The main task of ball joints is to provide freedom of movement to each of the wheels in the horizontal plane, while blocking freedom in the vertical plane. To understand how many supports are installed, you need to consider the type of suspension. The factor affects how many ball joints engineers have implemented in their brainchild. The most simple McPherson suspensions make do with two pieces, which are located at the bottom. Increasing the number of arms entails an increase in the number of ball joints. In double wishbone systems, there is an installation of the unit both at the bottom and at the top. In German brands such as Audi or Volkswagen, there can be up to 5 ball joints per wheel on one side. A few decades ago, the predecessors of spherical elements were kingpin analogs. These were heavier products that needed regular lubrication. The principle of their work implied the possibility of turning only in one axis, which was negative for controllability. During operation, ball bearings work in such a way that they take on the impact of bumps and unevenness of the road. This creates a huge load on the metal product. However, engineers do not tend to make a ball bearing with maximum strength, giving it such a shape that if necessary, it was easy to replace it by unscrewing a few bolts. The assembly has become an expendable item. Classic ball bearing design. The standard device of the ball bearing assumes the presence of the main constituent parts: metal housing, ball head pin, compression, spring, corrugated rubberized dust cover. A sufficient amount of lubricant was stuffed inside at the factory. Quality lubricant was sufficient for a long mileage. At each maintenance check, mechanics should check the safety of the anther and the quality/volume of the lubricant, and if necessary, the required amount is pressed in with the help of a grease gun. In later models, some of the metal parts have been replaced by plastic counterparts. Also, there are no springs inside now. They have been disposed of for lack of need. The spherical pin head is now rolled in a hemisphere of liners. In modern models, the latter are no longer made of plastic, but more durable and strong nylon. Manufacturers began to produce 2 types of ball joints, so the supports are serviced and maintenance-free. On most new cars is the second type of assembly. It lacks the possibility of disassembly and has a built-in oiler for adding lubricant. Sometimes there are intermediate types that belong to non-disassembled versions of the design, but possessing an oil nipple. Methods of attachment. The main differences between modern spherical joints lie not so much in the design as in the methods of attachment. This is due to the cost of labor intensity and maintenance replacement. The most optimal option, acceptable to the car owner, is considered the fixation of the joint body to the suspension arm by means of a threaded or riveted connection. The method allows you to quickly dismantle the worn unit if necessary. Read also how the 6th generation HBO works, its advantages and disadvantages. Later, manufacturers began to abandon such a method in favor of integrating the arm into the suspension. This design had the disadvantage of having to change the arm assembly, even if it is not worn out. The advantage was the lighter weight design. Although there is an opinion that such a system lobbied marketers in favor of increasing profits from the sale of spare parts, because it is necessary to change the arm assembly. Some automakers have made a compromise and refused to rigid fixation to the lever. The alternative was a retaining ring. The support was just pressed into the lever. Examples are Jeep Patriot or Opel Zafira C. In this case, a press or other type of force will be required for replacement. Locking on the steering knuckle. If the support is located on the lever, it may be attached to the steering knuckle. Such features are characteristic of the ball on the lever. The design can have three variants. Threaded pin is connected and fastened with a nut, which must be cothered, a self-locking nut. With an internal retaining ring is used for fastening. A tie bolt is fitted, which is rare, for example on the Hyundai Santa Fe from 2006. The last point is less acceptable, because if it breaks and needs to be replaced, it may turn out that the threads are sour. A negative factor is the need for a special wedge used to loosen the ends of the knuckle bracket, where the ball stud is fixed. Sometimes, even in the wonderful suspension designs of German cars, stuck bolts create a lot of difficulties during disassembly. It is not possible to save the situation by heating the cam or freezing the bolt. Even 10-ton force from a hydraulic press does not allow to press out the bolt. For example, owners of Audi A6 have to part with sums equivalent to $400 to $500. In some cases, engineers transfer the joint to the steering knuckle from the lever. Although such a solution does not add repairability, then there are several ways of fixation: bolting, pressing, in the cam bracket the use of a coupling bolt. Read also, gear ratio of the gearbox, what it means and how to calculate it. In each case there are both advantages and disadvantages. Duster. An obligatory attribute of the main joint of the suspension is the dust cover. It is used both on removable and non-removable structures. The part refers to replaceable. To check its condition, experts recommend that you check it at least after 10 to 15,000 kilometers of mileage. Timely replacement of the worn-out dust cover will help save on repair/replacement of the entire ball. Its task is to block the penetration of moisture, dust, and dirt to the rubbing surfaces, contributing to rapid wear of metal parts. Possible ball bearing failures. Even a novice motorist can identify the signs of ball bearing wear by indirect signs. It is necessary to pay attention to the behavior of the car during a turn. When the driver has to make special efforts or a characteristic sound, squeak, is manifested, there is a high probability of ball bearing failure. An additional negative sign is the manifestation of knocking while driving the car at low speed on uneven surfaces. We recommend diagnostics when you notice such symptoms of wear as instability of the front wheels and their wiggling to the sides. In the process of straight-line movement. To the signs of ball bearing development, many experts include uneven wear of the tires of the car. How to check the ball bearing by yourself on the car. To prolong the working life of the ball bearing helps their correct operation and timely care. Usually the resource of modern spherical joints in cars, depending on the brand, reaches 30 to 100,000 kilometers of mileage. Cars with the following criteria can fall into the risk zone with premature breakdowns. The dust cover on the ball joint is torn. The car is often driven on low-quality roads. The node has an insufficient amount of grease. The pins of the ball joint have worn off. A gap has appeared, leading to loosening. To check the condition of the ball bearings, you will need an elevator or a jack. After lifting the car, the tested wheel should be able to rotate freely. The motorist takes hold of the upper and lower edge of the wheel and slightly wiggles it in the vertical plane. It is possible to ask an assistant to turn the wheel slightly. Working out will be heard at a certain position of the wheel. However, backlash in some cases is a consequence of insufficient tightening or breakage of the hub bearing. The play is also caused by damage to the arm silent blocks. An additional test will be required. Using the flat part of the montage, determine whether it is necessary to change the ball joints. Insert it into the gap between the lever and the pivot trunnion. Create a small force on the handle and watch the assembly. If there is a serviceable ball joint, there will be no play. Negative factors will be knocking and clicking, arising in the process of pressing on the handle. Conclusion. Having learned to diagnose ball bearing faults independently, the car owner will protect himself on the road. Also, if possible, it is required to timely add grease under the anther or carry out a complete replacement of the node. In conclusion, Ball bearings play a crucial role in the suspension system of a car by reducing friction and allowing for smooth movement between various components. Their ability to support heavy loads while enabling efficient motion is essential for maintaining stability and comfort during driving. Without ball bearings, the performance and longevity of a vehicle's suspension would be significantly compromised. Understanding their importance helps us appreciate the engineering that goes into creating a safe and enjoyable driving experience. Thank you for watching, and we hope this video has shed light on the vital function of ball bearings in automotive suspension.